you need today. Call this number now.
Call 800-527-4903. That's 800-527-4903. 800-527-4903.
Yeah, about
527-4903. Hey, for my earphone. Yeah.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
I owe the IRS $37,000.
Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies. They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief represented me against the IRS. By the time everything was completed, I didn't know the IRS. It's not
How about the Free Start program?
it'll sit on this for like 2 minutes and then it'll go. We've already played the intro twice.
Can help you discover all the lead programs available for free.
So I just put 3 of them. I mean, the show starts in 2 minutes.
Obviously, gonna be okay. 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908. Don't wait. Call now. 800-841-0908.
Sound or anything you're aware of?
Yeah, I have so I had the final call for the win for Golden Knights. Marcia So goal, Cassidy sound click,
Okay.
Rappaport on gig.
Yep.
And as far as sound bites, that's all I got. If you want me to grab something else during the break, I can.
Yep. Lorenzo, can you hear me? Just give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me good. Everybody else who's listening, mic check 1, 2, 3.
If there's be a great rates available for you as well. At Turnbuckle,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
$1,000 and up. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote. 1-800-908-7636. You're probably paying more. You should. Call 1-800-808.
Can you turn off the background? Can you lower that?
1-800-908.
Thank you. Yeah. What do you guys want to talk about today on the stream? Michael Penix is in the building. What do you think of that? He's at the Raider facility.
Measure.
What'd you say? You had a night sound. What else you have?
I have the final call, Marcia So, 2 Cassidys, and Rappaport on gigs.
Yeah, let's lead with Rappaport.
All right, here we go.
Miss another show, stream us live or listen to this podcast 24/7 at LVSportsNetwork.com. This is Raider Nation Radio 920 AM, KRLT Las Vegas.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's time for JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT live here in studio. It's broadcasting, Raider Nation Radio, and on the YouTube live feed. Get in the YouTube, like several of our friends. Lorenzo's there. I sit here for about 3 minutes. I say, what do you want to talk about? And all of a sudden, the chat fires up. It's Modelo time. Get used to the live stream as I know how to press buttons now. My son set it up. It's ready to roll, and we got a big day today. Michael Penix Jr. is in the building working out today, reportedly for the Silver and Black, and that's been the hot topic this week is the Raiders with the 13th pick overall are in the market to get a quarterback, and it seems like Michael Penix Jr. might be the last guy standing at number 13. He and Bo Nix, because it looks like there's going to be a run on the quarterbacks. There's going to be a big run on the quarterbacks, as we know, and hey, we're going to have to deal with it. We're all going to have to figure out how we're going to handle this, everybody. There's going to be quarterbacks that are going to go ahead of the Raiders at 13. Do you want to go up and get one, or do you want to wait, or do you want to pass on a quarterback? Because last I looked, there's two in the building. I mean, you got Gardner Minshew. They call him Minshew Mania. And you got Aiden O'Connell, who thinks he's the starting quarterback, rightfully so. He started the games down the stretch, played really well in the AFC West, beat Kansas City on Christmas Day, and he feels he's the starting quarterback. And I would too if I was Aiden O'Connell. So this is, to me, concerning. Okay, it's concerning what needs to happen now because there's a whole bunch of stud quarterbacks on paper that are going to go in the draft high. And if we don't get them in this draft, good luck finding it in the next one. You know, I don't study high school 7-on-7 quarterbacks, wondering if some 17-year-old is going to make it to the Raiders 5 years from now and be the next Caleb Williams or Patrick Mahomes. It's time now to get a franchise quarterback. Right now is the time. And if you can't get them, no big deal. A lot of people say right now is the time for me to buy a house and get a mortgage. You might not qualify for the mortgage. Okay, you tried. You wanted to buy the house. Whatever you're doing in life, you want to try and get there. How do you get there? I don't know. You got to trade at least 2 first-round picks, maybe a third and maybe a player. And that leads me to the monologue brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7, midnight to 2. Head on out to PT's. Have a great time. Watch the Golden Knights. I went to the Golden Knight game last night. The cerveza was pouring. I had lunch with George Atkinson yesterday. We had a couple of cervezas. And then went to the hockey game, and it was fun. Man, did the Vegas Golden Knights beat the daylights out of Vancouver. Place was packed. My buddy Simon Keith on the horn. It was just a fun night, bumped into a lot of people and had a lot of fun. So that was a good night last night. Oh, and Danny, today's my wife's birthday. Today is my wife's actual birthday. It's not even my better half. She's my whole. She's not a half. She's my better everything. My wife's birthday's today. A lot of Raider Nation know my wife because she goes to the Black Hole. She goes to the tailgates. She supports the show. She's an unbelievable mother to my 2 sons. And happy birthday to my wife today, who's having a nice day, a nice spa up at Red Rock. And we're going to take her to dinner tonight because she deserves it. She does everything for my sons and I and my family. So happy birthday to my wife today. It's a good one. We're excited about that. I'm going to have a good weekend here and a lot happening. Just quickly, before I get to the Stefon Diggs, I had lunch with George Atkinson yesterday. And then after, we were having lunch for about an hour, hour and a half. And then a couple of my buddies came to pick me up and took me to the hockey game. So they all sat around with George. And these are guys who opened up Emmett Smith's new restaurant. And we were talking. And they were just quizzing George on old school Raider football and just Lynn Swan, some old hardcore stories. And George has been with the Raiders since he was drafted, I think at the age of 20 or 21. He's been with them his entire life. His entire life, he's been a Raider. Played for the Raiders, has coached with the Raiders, is still coaching and consulting with the Raiders. And man, the stories that George said to all of us, it just drilled back into me again from the time he came in the late 60s to his dominant times winning a Super Bowl with the Raiders, the 76 season, the 77 Super Bowl 11, and all the games he played in. And maybe Raiders 66 or Mort can correct me, but I think George quoted, George played in 7 championship games. 7 championship games and won 1 Super Bowl. And we were going through the losses that he had in the AFC championship game, in the championship games he's played. And they were the most fascinating games that maybe ever played. So when you hear the Raiders have 3 Super Bowls, the Atkinson era of the 70s, because the Raiders were in Super Bowl II against the Lombardi Packers and lost. You can understand why. It was the Lombardi Packers. Fascinating that the Raiders played in Super Bowl II. They were better than the Jets and lost to the Jets in the championship. Namath won Super Bowl III. Joe Namath won Super Bowl III, going through the Raiders, and George tells me about a play at the end of the game where he intercepted it. It tipped off his hands. It came down and was batted out of bounds. And he said that was one of his championships. Super Bowl IV, right? Super Bowl IV, Kansas City won. I believe the Raiders swept them that year and were a better team, but losing to Kansas City. And the 72 Dolphins and going into the Steeler dynasty. I'm like, oh my God. And I've known George since I started here. I'm tight with George, a mentor to me. I cannot believe the amount of games that the Raiders played in the Atkinson Tatum era, in the late 60s through the 70s, where the Raiders could be sitting now with 7 Lombardis. And that's not a reach. I'm not reaching on that because they stole one from us on the Tuck Rule with Gannon. Should have been a Super Bowl there. And then the next year, the Raiders went to the Super Bowl. That's when Barrett Robbins went AWOL. Thought we were going to win that one. But Tampa Bay clearly outplayed the Raiders. Clearly outplayed them. So leave that one with Tampa Bay. But the one that we had when Tony Siragusa, may he rest in peace, fell on Gadden, that was another Raiders Super Bowl. But forget all that. The Rob Lytle fumble, and then the Immaculate Deception, Joe Namath, Len Dawson. So to hear those stories told by a guy who took out Lynn Swann was pretty cool yesterday. So again, thanks to George Atkinson. He's a big part of the show going forward. So Stefon Diggs is traded. Stefon Diggs is traded from the Buffalo Bills to the Houston Texans. As I stated earlier today, oh my God, the Texans are loaded up. They're absolutely loaded. This is before the trade because they got C.J. Stroud at quarterback in the draft. And they got him, and he's an elite player already. And they got everything they need now. They got a running game. They got a passing game. They just added Diggs. They got an unbelievable defense. Here's Ian Rappaport from earlier today on this big trade. It was a blockbuster that came out of nowhere.
Defensive receiver would have been a lot of money about potentially being moved before just around, let's say 2 years. Those rumors are now the first, even now, stay out of the bond Diggs goes to the Houston Texans in exchange for a 2025 second round pick.
That's it. That's what's happening now. Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs is a member of the Houston Texans. That's another team in the AFC that the Raiders have to fight for a wild card or a playoff spot. That's another team. Very important. And we don't play in the division with the Texans, but we're trying to be one of 7 teams to make the playoffs. And now we got to deal with those guys who look to be a perennial playoff team going forward. They look to be the next version of the San Francisco 49ers of the AFC. That's the way it looks to me. They got pass rushers. They got everything. So with all that going down, that's concerning to me. That's really concerning to me because I can't sit here on the flagship of the Raiders and tell you the Raiders are going to win the AFC West. I can't do it. I'd get arrested by Twitter. I'd be thrown in Twitter jail if I said the Raiders are going to win the AFC West. They got to make the playoffs first. The likelihood is the wild card with Kansas City going through a three-peat. Raiders could win the division. I think the Raiders are better than the Chargers. I think the Raiders are much better than Denver. So they're right there in the division. But to say they're going to catch Kansas City this year, we don't have a quarterback yet that we've decided on, including Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Sorry, I can't do that yet. But the Diggs deal is interesting to me because Buffalo really got nothing in return for him. And it's one of the biggest dead cap hits that Buffalo, it's the largest cap hit, dead cap hit in the start of this era for all time for wide receivers. Let that sink in. Pretty good player. Tim Graham, the great athletic insider up in Buffalo. Tim used to cover sports out here in Vegas. So I have him on often. I didn't want to bother him on this one because it's a big story for him today. But he was disgruntled. The Bills were sick and tired of his crap. They don't want him around Josh Allen because he's a diva. And that's the topic too today on the flagship show. He's a diva. Davante is not. Everybody wants to trade for Davante. If you say Davante is available in a trade, and I say no, he's not available in a trade. Tom Telesco basically said that at the Combine in Indianapolis. No, he's not available for a trade. We know the Jets want him. Everybody would want Davante, but Davante's not a diva. I believe there are times, I'm a body language guy. There are times after the game, and I'm not in the locker room, but Davante will leave quickly. Davante might not be happy, but he comes back into the building on Monday, and he looks right into the cameras and tells everybody how important he is as a teammate. He's the captain of the team. And Davante Adams, everybody would love to have him, and he is not a diva. And he's better than Stefon Diggs. But you can argue the last couple of years, Diggs has been equal or better in some of those seasons here. So that's interesting here. And I'm not going to do a show that says, do you want to trade Davante? Because we traded to get Davante and gave up 2 first-round picks. Davante makes a lot of money. He deserves to make a lot of money. But we got to get him going. We got to get Davante going. Okay? You don't want to force the ball to him. Oh, JT, we don't want to force it to him. No, we want to force the ball to bleeping Davante Adams. You get him in the game plan right out of the gate. You go to him on the first 3 plays. You script the plays. You want a little Trey Tucker reverse with Davante? I'm good with it. You want my guy Michael Mayer on a seam route? I'm good with it. You get Davante going. Davante didn't go to the Texans. The Texans are better than the Raiders on paper. That's no debate. The Texans are better than the Raiders on paper. They're just in the playoffs. And Kansas City's better than the Raiders. And Buffalo's better than the Raiders. And Miami on paper is better than the Raiders. As we continue to go down this list. So we got to get Davante going in the prime of his career as a Raider to keep him happy. And I'm sure he's very happy because his family loves Las Vegas. I mean, everywhere you see his beautiful wife and kids, they love it here. But we got to show him more love. We got to win and we got to get to the playoffs. Max and Davante need to play in the postseason in the playoffs, period. So how are we going to do that? Well, we got to make more moves. And Michael Penix is in the building today. He's going to have a hell of a workout. I'm going to find out pretty soon here. Michael Penix Jr. now has a realistic shot to go number 13 to the Raiders. He's an older player. He's mature. He throws a gorgeous deep ball. Now, he doesn't throw an accurate ball in the short to mid-range like Aaron Rodgers did. Davante's used to that. Derek Carr threw a really good ball. Derek Carr did a lot of things that were good, and the ball was on time, and it hit Davante. They had a good thing going. You want to build that up and start it from scratch with Gardner Minshew? Okay. Aiden O'Connell seemed to have a little bit of chemistry with Davante, but I'm bringing up Davante to start off this show because Stefon Diggs played for one of the best teams in football, one of the best teams in Buffalo. They should have won at least one Super Bowl. I picked them to win the last couple of Super Bowls. They should have at least won a Super Bowl. And now he's gone. And how lucky is he to go from a Super Bowl contender in Buffalo to go to another Super Bowl contender in Houston? That's the good life. And supposedly he's a pain in the ass. He is just a diva. So that's something that hit me today as I was prepping for the show. I'm like, if Davante got traded to the Jets stink. The Jets suck. Even with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, the Jets are getting better, but they're a laughingstock in this league. So if the Jets wanted Davante that badly, Davante could go to the Jets if the Raiders got a lot in return, but Davante would be going to a team that's obviously improving in the Jets, but still a doormat in this league. Houston is not a doormat. And Stefon Diggs was kind of rewarded for being a pain in the blank in Buffalo, and he's getting an opportunity now to play for a playoff team in Houston. Raider Nation, here's the topic, because you've been really weak on the phones the last couple of weeks here. I got the YouTube up. I got guests today. You don't got a call ever. But you've been really weak on the phones this week. Maybe great on the other shows, which is great. I need to wake you up here on a couple of topics because the draft is right around the corner. Is there a player, big topic today, is there one player on this roster that you would put in a trade to move up? 702-365-9200. Is there one player, and he's got to be good, that you would put in a package to trade up and include a player with the first two first rounders on top of that? Is there someone that you see that, the Raiders are pretty strong at this position? Maybe we can include blank in a trade on top of our 2 first rounders so we don't have to give up a third. You see where I'm going here? Or if you want to, I think that's an important topic today because Stefon Diggs got traded. And Buffalo didn't get much in return, and Buffalo's going to take a massive cap hit. Buffalo didn't get better today. Houston got a lot better. I think the Raiders roster is on par with Buffalo now. I think that Buffalo's roster looked to be one of the best in football the last 3 or 4 years, not anymore. I think you can look at the Raiders roster, other than Josh Allen. You look at running back, wide receivers, you look at defensive pass rush, especially. Raiders are better than Buffalo in several categories. But Buffalo's been there the last couple of years. In the playoffs, the Raiders haven't. So, the Raiders made a playoff berth with Derek Carr, but lost to Cincinnati. So get on the YouTube if you'd like. YouTube is where to go. JT the Brick YT. We kept it simple. YT is for YouTube. Get on the live stream. Get into the chat. Make some friends there. I went to see the Golden Knights hockey team last night. They're so much better than my buddies New York Rangers who are watching me, or the team of my youth, the New York Islanders. For those who partake in hockey, you'll know that I gave up the Islanders only for one reason. I gave them up. I cut the cord with the Islanders because where I live in Vegas, they had an inaugural expansion team. They didn't move from Canada and Winnipeg or somewhere up in Quebec and come here. They didn't come from Atlanta. No, they came here, brand new team. So it was easy for me to cut the cord. So I rolled in there last night and had a great time. Had a great time there. They looked dominant last night. Oh my God, the VGK was dominant. Before I could even get to my seats with my buddy Panos, we got to the seats and it was 1-0. And literally, as we were sitting down, crouching to sit down, another goal. I'm like, man, this is unbelievable. A lot of fun there. So love the way they're playing. It's interesting what happens when hockey teams and NBA teams are trying to get to the playoffs. They start playing better. The Warriors, the Lakers, the Golden Knights. Everybody kind of wants to giddy up and get going down the stretch. NC State, look at NC State in the Final Four. No one had them. All of a sudden, they won 5 games in the ACC championship in their conference tournament, and they haven't lost since, and they're in the Final Four. Yesterday, I spent a lot of time on Caitlin Clark. I thought it was good radio because she was unbelievable. And she's in the Final Four now. UConn with Gino Auriemma. You imagine if Gino Auriemma and UConn, the Lady Huskies, take out Caitlin Clark. It feels like the whole country is pulling for Caitlin Clark to cut down the nets. That would be pretty impressive. Follow me here. The women's Final Four, Danny, what is that on? Because the men's is Monday. Are they on Tuesday? When do they play?
The Final Four is Friday and the championship is Sunday.
Sunday for the women. So the women go before the women. There, thank you for that. So with the women playing, you could have a Sunday to Sunday where Caitlin Clark could win the national championship and someone could win the Masters. John Rahm could go back to back. It's a cool sports week coming up. Really cool sports week coming up because we got the Final Four into the Masters, a tradition unlike any other. Excited about that. So that's the monologue brought to you by Resorts World. Got friends in town. Where do we go? I said, get to Resorts World. Go to Doghouse Saloon. Watch your sports there. They got the sports book there. It's right next to the theater where the gorgeous Carrie Underwood plays. Fantastic restaurants. They've opened up everything there. It's fantastic. The retail is opening up. I like 8 Cigar Lounge, a couple other spots there. So head on out to Resorts World as we open up the show. Let's start off. And again, if you're on YouTube, you got to listen on the Raiders mobile app. You won't catch the callers here due to the commercials and the rights here on YouTube. This is me ranting at you from all the way from Singer Island in Florida, where they're watching live, to Buffalo, where my buddies are in the chat watching live, to here in Las Vegas, and maybe our biggest audience in the Bay Area, where I still have the best show in the Bay Area because everybody in the Bay Area has been listening to me for 25, 26 years, and now they can just click on YouTube or they can listen on the Raiders mobile app. Raider O in San Diego starts us off. Go ahead. Yep. Good man. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
If this was Davante Adams running into a cameraman, it'd be pinned at the top of ESPN.com and NFL.com. And I'm personally sick of Crow Chief Media pushing this story down. It's hidden. No one's talking about it. I'd like to hear more. All right.
Well, let me tell you make a great point. You're right about that. Davante and the cameraman, ESPN.com. Certain stories disappear as the police are looking for him, or he got an attorney before turning himself in. Rashee Rice is a lowlife. And if he left that accident, which the cameras are showing, He was involved and left the accident when a little boy was injured or had to go to the hospital. Then the NFL is going to suspend it, but the Kansas City Chiefs should cut him. Continue. Yeah. Mm. Okay. Mm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the call. So he basically said if you're going to make a trade, what player would be available for that? Malcolm Kuntz. Malcolm Kuntz, people in the chat are saying Nate Hobbs. It's got to be a good player. We're not looking to make a trade here for Tom Telesco, but I brought up this topic today because of the trade of Stefon Diggs. And Buffalo's not trading Stefon Diggs for a lot in return in order to get a quarterback because they have their quarterback in Josh Allen from Wyoming. They found their quarterback, and I think he's a home run. He's just as good as Justin Herbert from Oregon, who's a great quarterback here. But if you're going to put a Raider player in a package, the two for me, which you cannot trade under any circumstance, are Max Crosby and Davante. Those are too good. Those are first-round picks. You get first-round picks for guys like that. So let's leave them out. But if you had to trade a player to kind of get something going, who would that be? Thor from the Raider Nation Drinking Club, Black Hole for Life. What's going on, Thor? What's happening?
Raider Nation Radio, what's your name? All right, Raider G. I'll let him know. Thank you.
All right, Thor. Yep, thanks, Thor. Appreciate it there. Again, I'm not looking to trade anyone. A lot of times I say things and it gets clipped, and people are going to say, JT the Brick today wants to trade Malcolm Kuntz. No, I don't. I'm hosting a radio show in the bleeping dead zone. Phones are packed here. Again, don't worry about the phone calls. I can do this 2-hour show blindfolded underwater without a call. We just want the Raider fans to have an advantage here over all the other cities and markets that don't have a flagship station that takes calls and has passion and has fans that are as diehard as the Raiders. So we're not encouraging a trade here. We're just saying what's going to happen. What's going to happen here if the Raiders are sitting in the room and go, man, we just were on the phone with Washington and we're just on the phone with the Patriots and they want 2 first-round picks and blank. Well, what's the blank going to be? A player or a third-round pick? How about 2 first-round picks and 2 thirds? It's really expensive to me. I'd pass on that. I would. I'd say 2 first-round picks, that's it. You got my next 2 years, you got my first rounder, that's it. I'm not throwing in a player, I'm not throwing in a third, I'm not throwing in a fifth, whatever. But it might take 2 first, a third, and a fifth. And Tom Telesco is a wizard at that because he's been an established GM and he knows value. That's what everybody understand what the Raiders are doing today. They got Michael Penix Jr. there. They're trying to figure out how he looks at this kind of workout today. They're going to put a value on him. And if his value is so high, it's better than J.J. McCarthy or right behind Jaden Daniels and it's close, they'll just wait for 13 and take him. Or maybe they'll trade up to get him if they love him that much. We're all trying to figure out value here. Chad Reuter's going to join us coming up here on the other side from NFL Network. Man, NFL Network came through for me. They got me a whole bunch of insiders, mock draft guys. You ask and you shall receive. Also, the longest tenured Raider insider, Bill Williamson, will join us at 12:45. Come on in. This is the best part about this YouTube feed. When we come back on the other side, I'm talking to everybody in the chat. We're having a good conversation. You can make new internet friends. be careful. These are my new internet friends on YouTube. As we're trying to build that channel, subscribe and share. Hit the subscribe and pound the like. And when we come back, Chad Reuter will join us and we'll dive into his mock draft, which is a big one, when we continue on the flagship of the Silver and Black. Good start. Good start, everyone. You have the number in the email?
Yeah.
And you'll do you need Williamson?
Yes.
Okay. What's happening? My buddy Nick Shahanian, Jimmy B, watching live on the YouTube. Good to see everybody here today. On Southeastern. Hold on. Oh, I'm going to text it to you. I don't want to give it over the live stream.
Get fast and comprehensive HIV testing, as well as.
All right. So the player, a lot of people think Malcolm Kuntz, man. Would you trade Malcolm Kuntz?
Downtown.
I like him a lot, man.
On-site. Get more information at the centerlb.
Your number's 606, right?
Yeah.
Yep, got it. What else? Adams is the only player I can see the Raiders trading for serious draft capital. I would agree. Diggs, and I don't think they're going to trade him. Danny McKay, you say no sound. You can't hear the callers. I've been telling everybody for a month. You cannot hear the guests and callers on this YouTube feed for legalities and reasons here. So if you don't like it, you can sign off, but I'd say open up the Raiders mobile app like I have open, and you can listen to the whole show live. So do that. Ty Rush, all right, JT, I'm switching to YouTube because I'm unlikely to become a caller. You don't have to become a caller. I just bitch and moan about callers because I was the best caller of all time. I was a caller. I loved that. I love the opportunity to rip a phone call up to a sports talk show. Man, not everybody wants to call. Less than 1% of used guys are going to call radio shows. That's not the problem. The problem is, when you do a show with no co-host, a lot of these other shows got 4 guys. So I can say something and just sit here and listen like this. Yeah, that's cool, and not say a word. I don't have that luxury. I have to fill the entire 2 hours. So that's why we want to hear from some people.
Guaranteed.
All right. I will let him know that you're on. We're coming back in about 45 seconds or so.
Santa Fe Station Hotel and Casino in
All
Las
right,
Vegas
thank
at 11 a.m. Registration 10:30 a.m.
How'd you get that name?
2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m.
Hey, Chad.
Sign up at markpatrick's.
Just want to double check the pronunciation of your last name.
Jaguar Land Rover Las Vegas. In addition
Right.
to having an excellent
Okay.
selection of
All right, great.
certified
Thank you.
pre-owned Land Rovers and Jaguars, we currently
That's important.
selection
Right.
of
Yeah.
model
Okay.
miles used and
Here we go.
available for immediate delivery. Many under factory warranty. Hi, this is Ray Donardi, and this means that we have vehicles for virtually every budget and lifestyle. Visit us today at 6425 Roy Horn Way or online at jlrlv.com.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by PT's.
JT,
the
we're
best
back.
Happy
Yep.
hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m.
JT with you as we continue on. Chad Ryder, kind enough to join us from NFL.com, one of the best out there. And with all the mocks, I was happy we can get him here. Chad, thanks a lot for joining us. I'll jump right in. What's been the biggest change for you over the last month since the combine, some of the pro days with your mock drafts, maybe with a player who's ascending? Because it doesn't seem like a lot of players are descending and having bad workouts. There's so many players in the first 15 that everybody seems to want. Chad Ryder is our guest, NFL.com. This is why I wanted to get you on. We're on the flagship of the Raiders, and Michael Penix Jr., you have the Raiders getting him at number 33 in the second round. And then I see some respectable guys, too, and your peers saying at 13. He's in the building today. So they're working him out today. And I think the first four players could be quarterbacks. If you buy into the fact that J.J. McCarthy could go if Minnesota trades up to get him, after Harbaugh's been blowing that up. So if Michael Penix Jr. and the Raiders come together and he has a great workout with him after his pro day and when he ran, why would the Raiders risk not taking him at 13? My gut says he won't be available in the second round. And if the Raiders get cute, trading back, thinking they're going to get him, I think someone else might jump and get him. So how big of a risk is this for the Raiders to let him go at 13 and try to get him later?
It is because, frankly, if you look at Penix's history, injury history, his play against Michigan in the national title game, he does so on a track, at the combine is not part of his equation or part of the reason that would be available in the next round. It's what he does under pressure, injuries each have. And you're not going to see that unless you're in the game. So, a lot of teams bring in guys to talk to, like Hendon Hooker is a perfect example. Teams brought him in to talk, and he went in the third round, partially because of the injury he suffered while he was at Tennessee, but partially because teams didn't think he had all the elite traits. And I think Penix could be a good starter in the league, but I don't necessarily. Some guys end up second round picks not because of their talent, because there's a risk involved and many different types of risk. So my guess is that Penix is a second round pick, and that a team like the Raiders or somebody else will move up and get him.
Chad Ryder joins us. What's your take on Jaden Daniels? That's someone who's connected heavily with the Raiders, been around Antonio Pierce. And you have the Commanders taking him at number 2, and I think that's great by you because I think he's got a higher ceiling than Drake May. So walk me through what it would take for a team like the Raiders or Minnesota or anybody to get up to number 2 to get Jaden Daniels there, or the Commanders, in your opinion, they can't afford to let Jaden Daniels go. They got a new owner. Bob Myers is in there, Magic Johnson. After Daniel Snyder, if the Commanders screw this up and pass on a franchise quarterback to trade down, what will be the effects on that franchise going forward?
They're not passing up a quarterback, whether it's Drake May or J.J. McCarthy. They're not passing up on a quarterback. And to talk about the Patriots doing the same is, I don't believe it for a second. The first 3 guys are going to be quarterbacks. That I know for sure. And after that, then you're talking about Arizona moving out. They would love to move out. But what I think it would take is going to be Minnesota, the Raiders, or Denver, and it's going to take future picks as well as the pick of some sort in this draft, because Monty Oxford and Arizona wants future picks. He wants the guys because they have picks in this draft already.
Right. Chad Ryder joins us from NFL.com. So I agree with a lot of your mock, the one you have. And you're going to have one more. Am I right to say that in the next week or two? Is that how that works? Outstanding. We'll be pushing that hard for you. So Marvin Harrison Jr. dropping to the Chargers at 5. I've always saw that, or the Jets wanting him. If he drops, I saw Daniel Jeremiah today, and he said he had him ranked as his number 2 overall player. So I think Marvin Harrison, if there wasn't so much pressure on so many teams to grab a quarterback early, if this was a draft a couple of years ago or next year, he could go number 2 or 3. So what about the mix with Harbaugh here? Because I think Harbaugh wants everybody to take J.J. McCarthy early so he can sit there and get the next available player who isn't a quarterback. Is that how you see it? Mm-hmm. Right. Outstanding. Chad Ryder, as we wrap this up over all the trades, how hard is it for you, who does a great job? And I can't even imagine what it's like to do a 7-round mock, knowing a lot of players aren't going to be there. They're going to go early. I mean, it's insane. But the reason why you're so good at it is team needs. So as you're putting together a long mock or a first-round mock, are you always looking for team needs? Are you looking at best available? Are you doing trading up? Because you get one wrong in a mock draft, and it could just snowball. One being wrong could affect the next 8 picks because it changes the board of other teams here. So I'd like to know your philosophy on how you put these together. Yes, of course. Mm-hmm. 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 Got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. Mm-hmm. Sure. Chad Ryder, last one. When I look at the Stefon Diggs trade, it didn't seem like Buffalo got a lot in return. Their cap hit is enormous. He was disgruntled. I think they want him out of the building. I think he's a pain in the neck, even though he's a really productive player. So that has to change everything for Buffalo now with what happened with Gabe Davis. And now you have this. And you got to get Josh Allen some talent there because Buffalo had a window. I thought Buffalo was as good as Kansas City the last 2 or 3 years. I no longer think that anymore. So leave us with Buffalo after the Diggs move. What you think they have to do next? Mm-hmm. 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 You got it. Chad, really like your work. Thanks for getting back to us and coming on. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we can have you on after the draft and recap it. All the best. I look forward to your future mocks. You got it. Chad Ryder, fantastic. Really good mock draft guy. I am excited because we're getting the mock draft guys on. That's all I needed to do. I said, Danny, a month ago, Bobby and I sat down, we put out requests, and now they're all flying in. And that's a good one from NFL.com. Chad Ryder, we have Bill Williamson coming up next. So that's the guy who says, don't take Penix in the first round to get him in the second round. How the hell's Penix going to be available at 33? I don't see that, but he does. And he's an expert on that. Daniel Jeremiah of Bucky Brooks, who's connected with the Raiders, says Penix at 13. If you wait for him to go at 33, he's gone. He's gone. I think that's too risky for the Raiders. If the Raiders take a right tackle or the best available offensive line in the hopes that Penix is going to be there in the second round and they get him, that's one of the more genius moves that we've ever seen. I don't think it'll work. I think you take Penix and you reach for him a little bit. Who's ever taken J.J. McCarthy's reaching for him at 4. He's not on anybody. He was never on anybody's mock draft at 4. Now everybody's got J.J. McCarthy at 4, including me. And everybody seems it's Minnesota trading over the Raiders with 2 first-round picks to get him. So Sam A says Penix would be a mistake. Jen Singer says, completely agree with the guest. Penix is a second-round grade, late first. If that fifth-year option is too tempting. So more and more people are coming in here saying no on Penix, who's in the building today. Not me. Not me. I'm not all over the place. I want Jaden Daniels. I don't think we're going to be able to get him, so I'm kind of switching to Penix. On draft day, if they say, hold on, JT, quick, run to the mic. Tom Telesco pulled off the trade. We got him. We got Jaden Daniels. That'll be, we'll have a party. We'll have a party, a big one, here on Raider Nation Radio. Thanks again to Chad Ryder. When we come back, we'll jump in with Bill Williamson, the longest tenured Raider insider. That's pretty cool. He's been covering the Raiders from Oakland to Las Vegas longer than anyone, I believe. I'm pretty sure on that. He'll tell us about Penix in the building today, what he thinks about it on the flagship of the Raiders, brought to you by, Grimaldi's. Had it the other night, man. Oh, it's the best pizza I ever had. Not even close. We love Grimaldi's. Okay. Good start. All right. Yeah, so he said Penix at 33. I don't know if I agree with that.
We had Jason Fitz on our show earlier this morning.
Yeah.
And he said that he's talked to a few NFL insiders at Yahoo and other places, and they're saying that McCarthy at 2 is very real.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be a reach, but you never know.
And one thing teamed up to change the world of entertainment, like develop labor globally.
All right, man, I'm going to take this YouTube to the top of the hour. We're 46 minutes in. Please hit subscribe. Please hit like, as you know. Again, today being my wife's birthday, no podcast today, no live stream tonight. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll pick that up tomorrow. Scott Webb says Penix is a top 5 talent as long as the doctors okay it. Yeah, I think the injuries are in the past, man. And I said the same thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. You don't predict injuries. Michael Penix Jr. is completely healthy. He's not going to get injured unless someone hits him on his blind side and knocks him into the dirt. You don't know when that's going to happen, but he's a lot bigger and stronger than some of these other guys. But I am concerned about Penix's injury history, like I would be with anybody who's been injured a lot. He's a tough guy, stays in the pocket. Scott, you're not going to be able to hear the guest. I've said this 1,000 times. We don't have the feature to hear the show of the guest. You're just going to hear me. So if you open up the Raiders mobile app on your phone while you're watching YouTube, you can hear the show and watch on YouTube. That's the only way to do it. Until Danny finds a way that we can plug the show in to the YouTube channel. And who can I ask that for, Danny, in our engineer department? Who can I ask about that?
Technically, we don't have enough.
Right. It's an inside joke. Yeah, thanks for the birthday wishes from my wife. She's having a great day today.
It's Chevy truck season. There's no better time to.
Matter of fact, I'm going to stay on a little bit longer. I'm going to stay on until probably about 1:15 Pacific time.
Hi, Bill. This is Danny.
What I like about this chat feature is while I'm talking live, you can jump in the chat and I can read some of your responses here or what you think about a certain player. So if you'd like to do that, and I'll give you credit and your name and all that. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Like I said, it's gear up for this.
So ready?
Yeah. Are the Aviators in town this week?
They're in Texas. They actually just wrapped up right before you got in.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Right. What's their record? Are they like?
They're 1-5.
Ooh.
4. Yeah, they're playing the Astros AAA team.
Got it. My son went to see the Yankees last night against the Diamondbacks. He's in school there. and the Yankees couldn't even freaking get a run after they were 4-0.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they got blanked.
They got blanked.
All right, here we go.
JT with you here as they close the Tropicana. I think 67 years, if I got that right. The Tropicana is now closed. Good luck with that, man. Risk reward. Hope they didn't shut that thing down too early, if you know what I'm talking about. Bill Williamson, our Raider insider, the longest tenured Raider insider in this market, kind enough to join us. And Bill, we just had on Chad Ryder from NFL.com. He's got Penix at 33. Then a lot of other mock guys got Penix, who's in the Raider building today, as you know, at 13. Let's start with Michael Penix Jr. If all the good quarterbacks are gone, the big four, would you consider Penix at 13? Mm-hmm. 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 Great point. Yeah, and that you make a great point. I haven't even thought about that. Everybody thinks the Vikings are going to trade up with 2 first-round picks to 4 to get J.J. McCarthy. Why not stay where they're at and hope for Michael Penix Jr.? I don't know what the big difference is between Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy other than age. And another big one is the prior injuries. But we didn't see J.J. McCarthy have to do much in the passing game, and Penix was brilliant. One of the best passers, if not the best passer in America, along with Caleb Williams. So I think it's complicated. And then you got Jaden Daniels, Bill. Are you hearing anything through your sources about, we all know the Raiders want Jaden Daniels. We've been talking about that for months. But how do they get up there to number 2? Because it doesn't look like the Commanders are going to pass on him. I don't even think Jaden Daniels gets to 3, where New England would want to take him there. How do you see it? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, Bill Williamson, as we wrap it up here, it's complicated. It's complicated for me because the Raiders have a good pick. They have the 13th pick. They got 3 picks in the first couple of rounds that I think they can do something big with. But It's complicated. It's greedy. It's like shopping. Everybody's going shopping, but then they get inside the store in Beverly Hills and they go, well, I'd rather have that, and that costs more. Well, you don't have the money. You don't have the credit on the credit card. You got to go and give up years from now income to go get it. You got to take out a loan on future drafts to do it. But Bill, you've been doing this a long time, and there's something about me that just says take the best right tackle, but he's got to start. We saw what happened with Alex Leatherwood. That's why I'm so skittish. He came from Alabama. He won the Outland Trophy, two-time national champion, coached under Nick Saban and the staff. He looked like not so much a lock for me. I know he had some issues there, but he was supposed to be a perennial starter. He had a much better career than Colton Miller did at UCLA, and look at Colton Miller. So is there a right tackle there? There's three of them that you say, hey, just take your medicine. You got to protect the quarterback. Let's get the right tackle, the right guard, the best available offensive lineman, and move on. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. There is that. Bill, we'll talk to you, give you a break till after. We'll recap the draft with you. Enjoy the countdown here. What can we find coming up with you? What are you working on in anticipation with all the sources you have coming up for the draft? Yeah, so it's better. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Bill. Take care. Have a good weekend. That's Bill Williamson. Go follow him. He's everywhere and knows the Raiders as good as anybody. As we just said, and for those who are streaming us live on YouTube, JT the Brick YT, as he said, it's just hard. It's expensive to go get the player you want for everybody. It's expensive for any team that wants to trade up. But to me, this year, it's more expensive because of the quarterbacks available. Everyone knew Indianapolis was taking Andrew Luck. That wasn't available for a trade. They were going to do that. Peyton Manning was jetted out of there, the neck injury, everything that happened. There are times where you're not going to be able to go get the player. And this is maybe one of those times. But again, I think the Raiders are going to come out. They got to come out of here with three starters, not two developmental players and a starter. That Max Crosby and Davante are too important to watch players develop who are drafted high. They got to have some grit, they got to be tough, and they got to be ready to play. Max Starks, former two-time Super Bowl champ, next hour, live from the flagship of the Silver and Black. Yeah, Cowtown, there's no need to shake your head. I just told you we can't legally on YouTube put up the commercials. Like right now, we're in a commercial break. We're selling products. YouTube will not allow that on the stream. So I got to figure out a way to splice in the callers, and we'll get that done. But we're working on having a live stream in this building. A matter of fact, that's going to be a lot easier. Benny Jet checking in. Benny, we need a profile photo for you instead of that B. The great Benny Jet has entered the room, which is great.
Hey, Shield up, you there? Okay.
Yeah, we got him first.
Starting a new hour, couple minutes. When we come back.
Be right back, everyone. Be right back.
Right, thank you.
What do we got? About 3 or 4 minutes?
About 3, yeah. Hey, Raider G, you there?
To watch any big game is God.
Raider G?
Sorts World, Las Vegas.
Raider G, you there?
That's work.
Hello?
Shows at an after party with live music, entertainment, dancing, and a tone piano to also inside Doghouse. Sounds like
Hey, Dustin, you there? Okay, great. We're starting the second hour of the show in just a couple minutes, and then we're going to get to callers. There's just 1 or 2 in front of you, and then we'll try and get to you, okay? All right, thank you. Raider G, you there? Hello?
terrible footballs out there. White beds. More terrible. Since 1969. Chevrolet, Nevada's #1 Chevrolet Valley dealership. Again, find roads there. Chevy is a place to be. Oh my God. Really Chevrolet has new extended weekday service, parts, and sales hours from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. Chevy is a place to be. Oh my God. We've all seen and heard the TV and radio ads from personal injury attorneys selling.
Understand what I'm talking about here? It's 2024. I gotta connect this to that computer. And we don't have an engineer. And we do have streamers. A lot of people play this, so I'm trying to figure out if the closest thing I can do is take a headphone, plug it into the second wire there, second headphone, and put the headphone up against that. The owner of the Raiders who watches things sound like it's white track. The owner goes to me. I love your live stream. What's with the thing on that?
Well, I know for Cofield, he has a cord that plugs into a headset jack, and then he plugs it directly into his laptop.
Right.
And it feeds it that way.
Right. That's great. I'm gonna text him now. We're back. Get Penix if we can. Tim Brown, yeah, he tore his ACL in the second season, 89. 15 years later, he's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Willie, hello, JT.
Location to the valley, the park, the street, Palazzo, Southwest Las Vegas on South Rainbow and Green Valley. All right, here's the opener.
Okay, thanks.
On Reed Street, Las Vegas.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show.
All right, hour number 2. Here we go.
What's up?
Nothing.
It's time for JT the Brick.
We got 2 callers.
I've got to throw you over 4.
Thank you.
You start talking sports. GT the Brick. That's fans. The show. Oh.
No bueno. Yes, bueno today. Good to have you back. It's my wife's birthday today. That's pretty cool. We took a nice walk this morning and said, man, the best day of the year weather-wise is today on your birthday. So happy birthday to my wife. Got about another hour here. No radio tonight. Man, I was on a marathon run. And the only guy who had a longer run than me was Q. He did 3 shows. Saw him tweet out. He did the morning tailgate. He did his show, his nighttime ESPN show from Easter Sunday to today. I've been double dipping every day, doing 6 hours a day, which isn't putting out oil fires. And it's not like I'm climbing on, big electric poles trying to save a power outage here or a police officer here. It's not a hard job. Man, been talking a lot. And then last night, my voice was tested because I was at the Golden Knights game and they scored 6 goals. And we're going crazy, man. Having a great time there. So I started my day off yesterday having lunch with George Atkinson in Henderson. Then we Ubered over to the Golden Knights, had some cervezas, Danny, out there at the beer house. Beer house. We had a couple of buddies who were there, never been to a Golden Knights game. And I'm like, look at this. We are sitting outside on a sidewalk right there outside beer house, sunglasses on, sun ripping, Vancouver fans everywhere. So one of my buddies says to me, he goes, he's a Philly guy. He goes, this would never work in Philly. I go, what? The sun, drinking beer outside? What's the problem? He goes, no, we would never allow fans of another team to be in our building. I go, well, you guys are just idiots. Philadelphia fans want to fight everybody. They want to fight everybody. So that's why I'm from New York. Nothing in New York would work out here in Vegas. Like, we'd ruin it in New York. If you took these nightclubs and these opportunities, outdoor, indoor bars, and put it in New York, again, Vinny Barbarino and the wannabe Joe Pesci's were getting fights every 10 minutes. And last night, a whole bunch of Vancouver fans are there, and he's like, why is this happening? I go, let me explain to you what's going on. Everybody in Vancouver and Canada wants to come to Vegas. The teams back east only get 1 game a year in Vegas. You don't think they want to go? And I go, the fans in Canada, from Edmonton to Vancouver, they all want to come to Vegas. And they want to spend their money here, and they're going to pay Vegas fans for their tickets. It's exactly the same what happens with the Raider tickets when Raider tickets are being sold to other fans. If Jacksonville's never been here and they come here, Jacksonville's not a good example. Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Miami, oh my God, the schedule's out. We got the Raiders on the road in Vegas. Everybody starts going to StubHub. They start overpricing and overbuying the tickets, and fans come in. So what am I going to do? I mean, I planked and moaned about it for 2-3 years. I mean, I go nuts. And I tell everybody in my section, man, if you're going to sell your tickets, come to me. I got neighbors in my section, great section that I'm in there. I think 132 or whatever it is, the Twitch Club. I said, if you're going to sell your tickets, here's my phone number. Call me first, and I'll put a Raider fan in these tickets. No, people around me sell them to the highest bidder. They sell them for $1,500 a ticket. So they sell it for $3,000, and the next thing you know, they paid for half their season tickets. Same thing with the Golden Knights. You know what baseball would look like if it came here? And it's no guarantee baseball's coming here, everybody. Let me pump the brakes on that for a second. If you've seen what the hell's going on up north in Oakland with that organization, if that owner would just sell the team, and we had a new owner, God, I would welcome them. I would welcome them. I'd have to run it up the flagpole first to a couple of people, wink, wink, but I'd end up welcoming that. And they're getting like 2,000 fans at the game. And we're going to take that. That's the brand we want. They get 2,000 fans a game. We want that. I mean, there were more Vancouver Canuck fans at the game that'll be at a homestand for the Oakland A's in Oakland last night. We're talking about playing a hockey game in an arena, not a stadium. I digress. So for the fans who were out at the game last night, and to see the Vancouver fans that are there, I mean, what a nice group of people. Canadians are so nice, Danny. They're just nice people, the Canadians, our Canadian brothers to the north. And I'm connecting great with all of them because I've seen Rush 54 times. There's no one in the history of sports radio that have seen Rush from Canada 54 times. So the Canadians love me. We got a great relationship with Canada and been on the radio up there my whole career. So as Fabian's saying, yeah, JT, you're right. The almighty dollar. I don't tell you what to do with your money, man. I'm past that. I don't tell you what to wear, what to drink. I kind of give you the advice of what to drink. Modelo, Remy Martin, all my proud partners here. But I would rather you not sell your tickets and sell it to a fan who wants to go. But these fans that are coming from out of town, they just love Vegas. Why wouldn't you? Again, the weather yesterday, I go back to being outside at 5 o'clock in the evening with the sun pounding down. And Danny, I like it between 105 and 110. It was 73 today, my wife and I, best day of the year. I go, look at this, we're walking the dog, 73. And I said, I like it at what? For me, the perfect weather is 105. Because 105 doesn't feel like 105. 105 feels like 98, 100. 115 feels like 115. 95 feels like 85. Been living out here a long time because we have no humidity and we have no bugs. We don't have any bugs. We have scorpions. We have scorpions. My guy who comes, the bug guy, you have to have a bug guy, by the way. You better have a bug guy. Every once in a while, I'll get a little text and say, we found this in the rocks in the front of the house, and there's a scorpion. Pretty big one. I said, well, keep them out of my house, man. Spray around there. But I like it hot. Last night, it felt like the first day where it's starting to warm up. We had, Danny, would you agree? We've had a cold winter. We've had a wet winter for us, at least. I mean, they're getting terrible weather in San Diego, pouring all the time in LA this year. But overall, it felt kind of like a summer day yesterday and today, or it's getting there, right?
Yeah, it's getting there. It's pretty good. It's starting to warm up. I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum as you. When it touches those triple digits, I'm out.
Yeah, I love the triple digits.
Inside as much as possible.
I want it over 100. I like it over 100. The pool feels cooler. The cervezas go down smoother. I love the heat, man. Love it hot out here. Weather is turning. We'll get to your phone calls here in a second. Michael Penix Jr. is working out for the Raiders today, according to Ian Rappaport. If he blows them away, I think it's going to be easier for Tom Telesco to take him potentially at 13. If you want to trade back and then come get him, that's going to be really risky to do. J.J. McCarthy seems to be the hot pick for everybody. He's going to go maybe number 4. The Giants want J.J. McCarthy at 6. And as I said, the teams that we got to worry about trading up to get Jaden Daniels, just a handful of teams. The Patriots, I don't think, are going to trade from 3 to 2 to get Jaden Daniels. I doubt it. But if Jaden Daniels goes number 2 to the Washington Commanders, the teams that could trade up would be the Minnesota Vikings, the Denver Broncos, the New York Giants. Minnesota's the big one overall, and maybe there's another team out there. The team that wants to trade out of their pick is number 4, Arizona. Everybody's saying that they kind of want to get some picks, and they want to move down there a little bit. We'll see what happens. 702-365-9200 if you're on our YouTube feed. If you're on the YouTube feed, just listen on the Raiders mobile app, and we'll figure out how to get the callers up here eventually here. Let's get going here. Who's been waiting the longest? Shields Up. What a good Raider name. He joins us on the flagship. Go ahead. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Great day.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it is deep in tackles. Hold on, and I like what you're saying. If listen, you make a good point. Penix is a lefty. To protect his blind side on the right side, you need a right tackle before you get Penix. I would agree, but for whatever reason, and I don't, I'm not. This is not about Tom Telesco. The former regimes don't want a right tackle. They just want to draft Thayer Mumford's 7-round guys and develop them. And I like Thayer Mumford, but I like a first-round starter. I like a free agent tackle that played 4 years in the league, or a guy who's been in the league 7 years and has 2 Pro Bowls, and the other team's going to let him go. Because that's important to me. You're right. If you're going to get Michael Penix Jr. and you don't get a starting right tackle or elevate that position, what's the use of having a lefty quarterback? Mm. Mm. Sure. Mm. Mm. Yes, I agree. Protection's everything. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. All right. Mm. Thank you. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Shields up. Thank you for the call. He made a really good point. That was an excellent phone call. If you don't have an elite right tackle, why take a lefty quarterback? You got to protect the blind side. You got to have a player there. And I'm very careful with this. You know, I work for the Raiders. I'm on the flagship station. I've interviewed Thayer Mumford. He's a good player. Dylan Parham, I sat with him. Name drop alert. I sat with Dylan Parham and his wife at the last event with my wife, and he's starting. He's a good, solid left guard who can play center. He's one of those guys. Andre James got a new contract to start at center. You could move him, and he could play guard if you had to. But the right tackle situation has got to be a priority here. It's got to be. And we decided to take Tyree Wilson, as he was injured, over a right tackle. Now let's get Tyree Wilson to play like a Pro Bowler, and that won't be a problem. But the problem I have with young offensive linemen is I've been scarred. Robert Gallery, number 2, great player in college, brilliant, one of the all-time greats. You can't name many more successful offensive linemen in college, which counts, than Robert Gallery. We take him number 2 overall because he was supposed to be elite, all-pro, future Hall of Famer. He had everything to say he was a future Hall of Famer in the draft. That's why you take him number 2. It didn't work out. He played okay. He had a couple good years, but he didn't play at a level that was just, oh my God, this guy's great. He's elite. And that's okay. You don't have to be great. Not everybody's going to turn out to be Art Shell, Gene Upshaw. They're not going to be that. But man, if you can get a couple of Steve Wisniewskis, who's another guy who's a perennial great Raider and should get consideration for the Hall of Fame. And Lincoln Kennedy is another example. Lincoln Kennedy was a high first-round pick. It didn't work out in Atlanta. We brought the great Lincoln Kennedy here. I got to get Lincoln on. I got to make sure. So throw out a Lincoln Kennedy alert. I got to get Lincoln Kennedy on here in the next week, and he's always great. He'll come on. I got to get Lincoln to talk about the right tackles coming up here. And Michael Penix Jr. What am I thinking? Lincoln Kennedy knows Michael Penix Jr. as good as anybody. 702-365-9200 as we continue with your phone calls. We're live on YouTube. I keep telling you that because as I'm building this YouTube channel, JT the Brick YT, I got to continue to mention it because we have new listeners here. And I think you're all on YouTube. My sons are on YouTube. You know, I was never really a YouTube guy until I got YouTube TV, Danny. And I cut the cord with DirecTV. God, why didn't I do that 4 or 5 years ago? How much money did I pay DirecTV? I could have bought real estate in Honolulu, in Hawaii, for what I paid DirecTV over the last decade. Now I got YouTube TV. I'm streaming live on YouTube, and I like the product a lot. Let's get out to Corey, who's kind enough to join us on the Raiders mobile app. Where you from, Corey? Where you calling in from? Thank you. How about that? The Raiders mobile app from St. Louis, right outside there. Appreciate you. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, Penix, one thing we have to remember with Michael Penix, the right situation is Michael Penix is a left-handed quarterback. So the right side, blind side. Right now, the right side of the Raiders is blind. So,
yeah, I agree with you. It's not the strength of the team. I mean, you talk about the Raiders' right side, that would be right guard, and right tackle isn't elite. We don't have guys who are on the verge of going to the Pro Bowl. I can admit that, and that's what you want to do if you have a left-handed quarterback. It's a priority.
Offensive line, and I would really like to see them be one of these teams from a split team every year that is take this first team and solidify it. You go out there and see if you can build the offensive line and build the offense going forward. Take your answer.
Yeah, well, that's a tough question for me. Thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it. So as the caller says, you build this team, you solidify the offensive line, and you give it over to Gardner Minshew. Sounds great, except for one thing. What about Aiden O'Connell? You just called the show and said, we got to build the offensive line up for Gardner Minshew. So I would say, what about building it for Aiden O'Connell? Doesn't Aiden O'Connell have the lead today? Doesn't Aiden O'Connell rightfully have the lead in the clubhouse to be the starting quarterback of the Silver and Black, or are we going Gardner Minshew? Doesn't bother me either way, right? I'm going to do the pre and post game show, all the other stuff I do, and whoever the quarterback is, I am a soldier, and I'm going to get behind that quarterback here. But again, how about getting Jaden Daniels or Michael Penix Jr. and then finding a way to get at camp a right guard from another team? Remember, there's going to be cut downs from other teams. And you might say, well, why are they cutting that right tackle if he's so good? Why are they cutting him? Well, it's easy. He's been on the team a while. A team that's got a stronger offensive line than the Raiders cut a right tackle because they have a younger player who's just outperforming that former really good right tackle. That happens. Not all the time. Not all the time, but it happens. 702-365-9200. I mean, listen, if you've been listening to me for 20 minutes or 20 plus years, you know I've been screaming for a right tackle around here for a while. I have been, because of Lincoln Kennedy and seeing what Lincoln was able to do with Frank Middleton and Barrett Robbins and the strength of that line over the years and how good it was. And I like Colt Miller. And I hope Colt Miller, I can't believe Colt Miller hasn't been in a Pro Bowl yet. I'm shocked. Like, there's a lot of good left tackles in this league, man. And the ones who go to the Pro Bowl are the two best. It's hard to be number 2 out of 32 teams. You can be the 7th best. Say Colt Miller's the 7th best left tackle. I think he's top 5. Top 5 won't get you to the Pro Bowl. So I always thought that he would be a Pro Bowler by now, and hopefully he will be this year because they got to get more out of him. We got to get more out of Colton Miller, who's good. He's really good. We got to get him great. And I think he has the ability to do that. We got to get more out of Nate Hobbs, who's good. Can he be great? I don't know. I have to ask Eric Allen that. Eric Allen played the position. I'm good with Epps. I'm good with Merrick at safety. Are they Pro Bowlers? Again, name drop alert. Having a lunch with George Atkinson yesterday, and he tells me about when they brought in a kid behind him named Jack Tatum, and they played 8 years together. 8 years. Epps and Trevon Merrick played 1 year together. 1. They're probably going to play year 2 together. So when you see this, you have to build chemistry. George was talking about the years of non-free agency when you could keep your team together. George made another good point. This is a good one, Danny. What a nugget from a legendary Raider. One of my buddies asked him, well, did you guys fear that they were going to replace you? And George is like, no. No one was taking my job. Like, well, what about if they drafted a younger safety? Didn't matter. You're not playing. They policed themselves. They literally ran the Soul Patrol and the Raiders coming from the 11 Angry Men in 67 onto the 70s and the great 70 Raider teams, Villapiano. None of these guys looked over their shoulders. They played at such a high level. Mr. Davis wasn't coming in saying, hey, man, I'm putting pressure on you. I'm drafting this kid. He's going to take your spot. They would, no, I'm going to keep my spot. And they did. And they were able to do that. A lot of people love Soul Patrol 1 and Soul Patrol 2. Those are the great Raiders secondaries of all time. He's hanging out with Mike Haynes at the Raiders Gala. Guy still fits. He looks like he can play. I mean, Mike Haynes is in crazy shape. And he wore his gold jacket to the event, and he's talking to Jack Jones. Mike Haynes is a lot bigger than Jack Jones. Jack Jones is good, and he's decent size. Mike Haynes, can you imagine what it was like to run a route against Mike Haynes when they were allowed to put your hands on you? Instead of the league we're playing in now, where if you put your hands on anyone after 5 yards, it's a flag, especially against the Chiefs. Oh, I said it. Yeah, someone had to say it. The flags that the Chiefs get along the way. But the Chiefs are going for a 3-peat. All right, when we come back, Max Starks is going to join us. He won 2 Super Bowls with Pittsburgh. We threw out a lot of people to get guests here with the draft coming up, and he's the next to join us. Max Starks, former 2-time Super Bowl champion for the Steelers, now an analyst on Sirius XM on NFL radio. Good day today. Happy to be here with you today. It's going to be a great rest of the week as we get you ready with our in-depth team coverage on the flagship of the Raiders. All right, live stream friends, I'm bailing out. We got a guest here. You can listen on the app. We'll be back again. I'm going to do a live stream, I believe, Thursday night. So Thursday night, I'm going to jump in 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, and we'll do that, and we'll have a good time. Hernandez, Raiders are going with a running back by committee this season. Yeah, it seems like it. Zeus, Madison, I think they're good players. So, Benny, I'll talk to you off the air later. We'll have a nice conversation. Everybody else, thank you. We got a lot of, this is picking up every day. I see 41 people in there now. Maybe a year from now, as Benny says, we'll have 400 people here. And I think as we get closer to the football year, and when I'm doing this show live from Raiders training camp, if we're outside, it's going to be great. Counting on everybody here to help build JT the Brick on YouTube. Appreciate everybody.
Guaranteed. So what do you got to lose?